and good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to this week's video upload. This will be the fifth board in chapter 5 of Grandmaster Ronghwa's Sandwich Horse Defense Treatise. It will also be the last board in the lengthy chapter, and as in the previous boards, I've chosen to put black at the bottom of the page so that the interested viewer can experience the variations in the eyes of black. So without further ado, let us start the board. Central cannon, pale corner cannon, sandwich horse defense, and as in the earlier boards, in the earlier chapters, red would advance his third pawn, black would counter with the same move, and this would be the topic of discussion for this board. Advancing the horse so early in the game, one of the main motives will be to attack the black central pawn, so that if black captured it, red would gain a headhunter cannon. And incidentally, the horse, when it is advanced to the riverbank so early, is called Xiangqi Ma in Chinese, and I've chosen to translate it as a Trailblazer horse. So this would be the Trailblazer horse variation. Xiangqi will be the first troops, or the troops that you send out early to attack. So when faced with this red's aggression, black would usually move a6 plus 5 to fortify his central file, and this would be a wait and see approach to the match to see how red would choose to continue attacking. And after a6 plus 5 were played, there were two major variations. The first one will be attacking the central pawn as planned, and the other one would be h8 plus 7. So the most important question would perhaps be, what would happen if red chose to be aggressive with by capturing the central black pawn? So because the advisor had been moved, black would simply capture the offending red horse, check, and black could defend in this manner. So at this point in time, black could be prepared to move his chariot, advance his chariot to a favorable position, because it will become a discovered attack on the red's central cannon. So c8 plus 3. At this point in time, could red have played p3 plus 1? This would not be favorable, because if black did so, red would lose a pawn instead, because the cannon would have to move or it will be captured by the black horse, and once it did, red would simply advance his capture the red pawn with his 7th pawn, and the cannon would be protecting the horse. So black's pawn will become a serious threat, because it could cross the river anytime, and this would be to black's advantage. Hence p3 plus 1 is not played, and usually red will take the opportunity to develop his left flank with h8 plus 7, and black would continue to attack the horse. The elephant is raised to protect the horse, and at this point in time, black would finally make a move with his pale corner cannon. So at this point in time, it will be a double threat, because black will be threatening to capture the central cannon, and at this point it would place some pressure on red's cannon rank. Red would usually retreat his cannon because the horse was still protected, and black would continue attacking, capture, and black would have the initiative, because at this point in time, the cannon would have to move, and black would then continue to capture red's central pawn. So as can be seen, Black would have developed almost all his major pieces and commanded the more important lines at this very early phase in the game. So Black would have a significant advantage, and Red would have lost his initiative by default. So short review: if Red tried the Trailblazer horse variation and did capture Black's central pawn, usually it would not be favorable for Red, and Black would usually be able to turn the tables. So this would be variation 1, whereby Red would capture Black's central pawn. In variation 2, Red would slow down his attack and choose to develop his left horse as a proper horse. So this would be the more complex variation in this board, and Black would defend with the left elephant variation, and Red would choose to adjust his own formation, since Black had already consolidated the central file. So traversing the cannon would allow Red to adjust his attacking formation, and this would be a rather complex situation. There were 3 variations that were discussed in the book for Black. The first would be capturing Red's Pell Corner cannon. The second would be advancing the Black cannon to the cross riverbank rank and preparing to attack with p3+1, and the last would be retreating the cannon back to the bottom rank. So we shall inspect the first sub-variation, whereby Black would accept Red's offer to trade material. So if Black chose to capture Red's Pell Corner cannon, Black would choose to develop his horse in this manner. This would discourage Red from developing his chariot with r9 equals to 8, and Black would choose to develop his right chariot as a rank chariot, because developing it as a file chariot will not be a very efficient method at this point in time. And by pushing the 7th pawn forward, Red will be able to free his left horse and allow it to and prepare it for development. It will also discourage or deny Black from playing r4+4 to threaten this very important riverbank horse. And at this point in time, Red would offer a trade of chariots. After trading chariots, Red would still have a significant advantage, because his horse on the riverbank would command a focal point, and it would be to Red's advantage for the future development of the game. So it would not be advisable for Black to capture Red's Pell Corner cannon at this point in time. So if c6+5 were not advised, would c2+3 be better? Black would, as mentioned earlier, Black would attempt to attack with p3+1, where it would be a cannon mount, and Red would threaten the red horse. If the red horse moved, the pawn could advance and threaten Red's left horse, and also apply pressure on Red's left flank. So would this be a good idea? Red would simply trade cannons and retreat his horse. This will be a very versatile manner of developing his horses, because since this file was more or less clogged up, Red would choose to retreat his horse and develop it from the other flank. And although Black would have gained a cross river pawn, the development of the red pieces would be much better than Black's, and Black would still have to use at least one move to retreat his advisor and this would create weaknesses on his left flank as the red chariot was prepared to attack. So c2 plus 3, although it will look good on paper, would not be a very ideal variation or option to play. And this would lead us to our third sub-variation in the board. And the third sub-variation would be retreating the pale corner cannon to the bottom rank. This would be the suggested or recommended move by the Grandmaster. So by retreating the cannon back to the bottom rank, even if red tried to trade cannons, the chariot would get a very good position for development immediately. And because the cannon had not moved, the cannon would be able to protect the black's cannon rank, and this would be very important as the threat of the red chariot would become decreased. So if after playing c6 minus 2 or retreating the black cannon, red will usually continue with a6 plus 5, and it will be at this point that red will continue to attack with c2 plus 3. And at this situation, there were another two sub variations that were discussed. The first of which would be h4 plus 3, and the second would be r2 plus 7. So in the first variation, red would choose to attack and capture black's pawn to gain some material, and thus prevent black from gaining any tempo or initiative from pushing the third pawn forward. But as mentioned, the other variation would be r2 plus 7. Would this be a good option for red? Because red would now be threatening the black horse immediately, and the cannon had already left the cannon rank. So black would defend the horse in this manner. And as can be seen, red's chariot and horse would not be in a very good position at this point in time, and especially after the black cannon had retreated to the riverbank, the red horse could not retreat, and it would not have any good lines for further development. So in this situation, black can be satisfied going into mid-game. So threatening the horse immediately would not be a good idea. And if red continue with h4 plus 3, the cannon that has just retreated would now become a major force, because by doing so, the cannon will actually also be targeting and applying pressure on red's elephant on the bottom rank, and there will be a chances or threats of a smothered cannon checkmate. So after c6 equals to 7, or traversing the cannon, red will protect the horse in this manner, and black would simply trade material. And at this point in time, we can see that the development of the black pieces, especially the right the cannon and horse, would be very ideal. And red's the position, or the red's riverbank horse, the focal point occupied by red's riverbank horse earlier, would now be gone. So black can be very satisfied going to mid-game with this situation. So this concludes the last board of chapter 5, and a short review. First of all, the topic of discussion would be red's Trailblazer horse. Black would defend with a6 plus 5, and there will be two major variations that were discussed. The first of which would be red capturing the central pawn, which would not be ideal, as black will be able to seize the initiative from red and be able to go into mid-game with some advantage. The second will be developing the left horse, but it would not be ideal either, because at this point in time Black would have fortified his central file, and the efficiency of the central cannon would be greatly decreased. So if Red tried to Red tried to adjust his formation, there were 3 sub-variations that were mentioned. The first would be c6 plus 5, which would not be advised, because Red will be able to adjust his formation, and it would be to Red's advantage going to mid-game. The second would be c2 plus 3, whereby Black would immediately advance his cannon and be prepared to play p3 plus 1 to gain initiative. However, as can be seen, Red would retreat his horse and develop it from the other side, and the efficiency of this move will become greatly decreased. And the recommended move by the Grandmaster would be to retreat the cannon back to the bottom rank, whereby if everything went smoothly, Black would have better development of the pieces. So as a short summary, the Trailblazer horse variation is not so ideal, as can be seen from the various variations and sub-variations, and that is why it is seldom seen nowadays in actual play. However, from my personal experience, I still see a lot of people playing the Trailblazer horse variation, and there are some other methods of dealing with it, and but generally speaking, it would be to Red's disadvantage or to Black's advantage. So I hope you have enjoyed this week's video, and I look forward to seeing you again next week, and have a nice weekend. And if you like the videos that I have done, please subscribe to my channel to give me some encouragement, and feel free to add any comments on what you might think would help to improve the quality of the videos that I have been doing. Thank you again, and have a nice week.